Oh, I missed it. Dang, I was getting water.
Yeah,
Well,
the
right.
Wellerman was playing.
Run that shanty back.
All right, we're gonna be camera on. I'll be camera on. Well, all right, pirates. Happy Wednesday. Thank you all for your time coming out here. We have a great town hall lined up. We have Amit, we have Matt, Adam, William, and Dith out here to share a lot of the work that we've been doing here at Pirate Nation and give some teasers on stuff that's coming next. So, I'm Jonathan. Thank you all for being here. Uh, we're going to talk about Season 2 booty. We're going to talk about the multi-chain. And we're going to talk about a lot more stuff. Like so much stuff. So stay tuned to the end. We'll be here for about 45 to 60 minutes. If you have questions, throw them in the chat. We'll be watching and building a list of questions to address at the end. So please ask away in the chat here in the town hall. I think everyone, I'll double check the permissions once we get Amit going. Just make sure you guys can chat in the channel because I think this channel is guarded. So I'll double check that. Also, one note. Yes, we updated fair play rules recently. We'll not be addressing that during the town hall, so please keep your questions related to the content that we share. And with that, let's give it away to Amit. Game time, boss.
Well, Um, so I just want to take a few minutes and just we talk about what we're building, why we're building it. We're a bit different than maybe other projects you've played, especially if you're coming from the GameFi space. A bit about us. So, we're the proof of play team. We're about 27 people. Our intention is to actually move the state of the art of game development forward. Myself, Matt, Van, who's on stage, William, who you guys will hear from in a bit. A bunch of us have actually, Jonathan, like a bunch of us have actually been in the games industry for a while. This is like my third game company. Um, what we've seen is that, the potential of the blockchain to create new types of games is what's really exciting for us as kind of veteran game developers, right? I worked on a game called Farmville, 300 million players, a billion hours were put into that game. In 2020, the game was shut down. All of those that player data was lost, I thought that was really unfortunate. I really think that like the a game, especially online games, should belong to the community, right? They should belong to the players that create those worlds, that invest their time. And the potential of the blockchain is that we have the ability to create games that are forever games, right? Like if we go and create a game that's fully on chain, not just your assets, but also the code and the logic, then even we can't shut it down, right? Even if we go away, the game runs forever. And that's the potential of what on-chain gaming has as the opportunity from on-chain gaming. The second thing is that on-chain games inherently are remixable. They're moddable. They're composable. They allow people to build on top of them. Someone today could go and take Pirate Nation and fork it, right? If you guys don't like how we're running, you can literally take the game, fork it, create your own thing, right? It's hard, and we'll get into how we're going to make that easier in the future. But my belief is that like the work that we're doing here is extremely important, not just for creating fun games and creating amazing experiences, but actually about pushing the state of game development forward, of utilizing blockchain technology in novel and unique ways, actually in a lot of ways fulfilling its purpose, um, and really just solving problems that haven't been solved before in terms of creating the decentralized internet. So that being said, it's a lot of technology. Most people don't care. Like our thesis was always, create a fun game, and then the engineering team catches up to try to make that fun game possible, right? Um, for us, our North Star has been deliver fun experiences, create stuff that is really going to, excite people. And on that note, we launched the game 18 months ago. We did a free mint of Founders Pirates. I think a bunch of people here were part of that mint. We've done 82 updates since the game launched. So almost every week, we tried to do another update to the game. The game is very different from when it started. Honestly, it wasn't very good when it launched, but That's the beauty of live game development. You all are along for the ride there. Since since the Pirate Nation Foundation launched, and we've had like TGE with the Pirate token, we've seen a lot of growth. We 25, our user base grew by 25x. We're in the high tens of thousands of daily active players. Just to give you context, this is unprecedented for on-chain games. This just really, hasn't really existed before. And keep in mind the challenges to like get a game like this to run versus say like something that's running on a centralized server is like 10 to 100 times more complicated. Because you're essentially running, your entire game infrastructure as a decentralized thing. And so, we've intentionally been thoughtful about slowly building the player base over time. And a big part of that is because every time we unlock a new upper bound on scaling and what's possible, we end up, we hit it really quickly because people want to play the game. And so we've been very thoughtful about slowly opening it up. So the user base grew by 25 times. And just give you context, like, we launched the Apex chain back in March, partly because, we were running the game on Polygon, then we were running it on Nova, and we kept running into issues with scaling on those chains. So we knew we always needed our own chain. And currently our chain is doing about 3 million. It's doing between 2.5 to 3 million transactions per day. That is, at the same level of many other major chains like, let's see, I think more than Arbitrum, potentially more than Optimism. I think we're about the same level as Base. We're a little bit below Base in terms of transactions.
Right in the top 5 is where we sit with transaction growth.
Yeah, and in terms of the amount of gas that's being kind of generated and spent, which is a measure of how much like throughput is going through the chain, we're doing about 45 megagas per second, which is more than every other L2 and L3 combined. So we're just pushing, like we all are collectively pushing the boundaries of using this technology and like really kind of like seeing what's capable. And so, we're built on top of Arbitrum. And so we're like really like, we're at the upper limits. They told us at about 70 MGAS, the chain falls over. So we capped it at 45. And we're still seeing like, we're pushing at the limits of it. That being said, we always knew that was going to be the case. And we had ideas on how to solve it. And so one of the really cool things that we've been working on is the multi-chain, which, we'll talk about in a second. But I also just want to address the waiting room times because like that's been kind of something that's been up. So basically the reason we instituted the waiting room was because of this upper chain gas limit, right? And, what we're seeing a few different things. One is that, when we initially introduced it, the waiting room times were like 20, 30 minutes, which is like reasonable. It still sucks. We don't like waiting room times at all. But, as, the number of players increased, as folks started to game the waiting room, which we saw a lot of too, we realized that, okay, like this is not a tenable solution. We need to accelerate our efforts on the multi-chain. And so just to give you context, pretty much the entire engineering team is on multi-chain stuff. We have a few folks working on gameplay features, but almost all the team is on multi-chain right now. And the idea behind the multi-chain is that we're going to end up making it so that we can essentially add more capacity to the game by essentially sharding player transactions. Right now we're doing 3 million, but ideally when we start to launch new chains, those 3 million transactions are now distributed across, the Apex chain, the B chain, the C chain, the D chain, etc., which then brings down the amount of activity per chain, which then allows us to increase the number of active players per chain, which hopefully brings down the waiting room times and eliminates them completely. So that's the intention. Now, this is an incredibly hard problem. It has never been solved before. We're doing things that other companies dedicate their entire existence to, like cross-chain messaging and all this other stuff. And so these are really hard problems. So I appreciate your patience as we like figure these things out. That being said, we're very confident that, in fact, we have stuff that's kind of running internally. It's not ready for production yet, but it's getting close. And so that stuff's really exciting to us. The last thing I want to say is that for us, like the waiting room itself is like a completely unacceptable experience. Like I am a gamer. My wife has a Gen 1 Pirate. I talk to her every day. She's like, "Our waiting room time's down yet?" I'm like, "No." She's like, "What are you doing? Get back to work." And so, I hear you. I feel you. It's not the experience we want to deliver. For us, our North Star is great games, easy to play, frictionless experience. We're not there yet, and so we're not going to rust until we get there. And so, yeah, on that, I want to hand it off to Matt Van to chat a bit about the multi-chain.
Awesome. Thanks, Amir, for the overview of everything. Just a quick intro for people who haven't heard me before. I'm the head of engineering here at Proof of Play. Like a myth, I've been in many different companies before in the gaming vertical, probably the biggest games. Some of the ones you see behind me. Worked at Riot Games on League of Legends and on Valorant. I've also worked on different IPs like Star Trek IP. Again, like the reason that I'm here and most of the team are here are really about the core tenets of making amazing fun games that live forever, that are composable, that you have these affordances that kind of the blockchain gives. Today I'm really going to be talking a lot about what we think about scaling. Scaling in Web3 is a new problem for everyone, but it has some tendencies that are very similar to problems that we've solved, like a myth at Farmville, like me at League, like a lot of our team at their various games. We believe that Pirate Nation is a game that can get to millions, if not hundreds of millions of players, if we can solve these challenges. And so today I just want to give a quick update on where we've been in our scaling journey and where we are now. As Amit mentioned, we started with a prototype that was on Polygon. We moved to Nova, and then we launched Apex back in March. Today we're kind of announcing, and some of you guys have already seen the teasers for a new chain on the multi-chain called Boss. And this boss is kind of aptly named. It's really about our boss of horizontal scaling, making sure that we can have many different chains. I think some of you have heard me say it before, but we actually don't believe it's many games for one chain. We believe that the kind of equation is back to front, and it's actually one game to many chains if we want to get to the scale that we get to. One of the big things about multi-chain is that we have to build a lot of these primitives that are required for many different chains, and that's what we've spent a lot of work doing. And one of the questions we get asked all the time is why don't we use something that's off the shelf for this? And the big thing here is with a game like this, we want to make sure we're building a great game, not just a great fully on-chain game. And that means caring a lot about the user experience, things like making sure things are fast, making sure that we're not exposing things like bridges to customers. Like a good example of this is it's really not good enough if you want to change chains to go and like to send something to someone on another chain to go to a bridge and send it. It's confusing to users. There's a lot of gotchas. There's a lot of issues that people could get there. And so we take a lot of care in designing these such that you as a player can send things without having to care about whose chain it actually is on. And so a bit about multi-chain is this is our number one priority milestone in the company. It really paves the way for the future of where we scale this and other games. And like anything that we kind of go live with, we're going to release this in stages. And so to talk about, what we've just finished work on or what we're in the middle of working on right now is we've done a lot of work on adapting our primitives to multi-chain. This is going to be a little technical here, but inside of the game, especially for those who are developing on Pirate Nation, we've been, slowly migrating things to this thing called components. And these components are our low-level primitives that allow you to store data. And we've essentially completed the migration of everything in the game to using components now. And we've been doing a lot of work on having this be available for multi-chain. What does that mean? It means developing systems like having components and system components be able to replicate it across many chains, such that you can have quests on different chains, or you can have different pieces of information on chains. And I'll give a few examples of that in a section. But as I talk about what's going to go live as soon as we launch multi-chain. One big thing we really want to strive in from day zero is making sure that transfers go live immediately on launch. What does this mean? It means, for example, that you can send a ship to someone and it will go to their chain without you having to do anything. There's no bridging needed to be done. It's going to be very similar to mirroring, where I just send a ship to someone's address and it will get there. You don't need to worry about that. The same thing with game items, and the same thing with our mirroring technology for pirates. These things are going to be automatically multi-chain compatible. Another feature that we'll have in this is, when we're talking about buying things on the pop marketplace, you're going to be able to buy with currency from any chain. So that means that you don't need to really worry about what chain you're on. Let's say your assets are on Boss and you want to buy something from. You can go and buy that with Boss ETH, and it will be delivered to you on Boss, and the seller will be compensated on Apex with Apex ETH. So a lot of these cross-chain bounds, they're really difficult problems for us, but they're important for us to solve, such that we can get this infinite scaling that we want to get. The next thing I think that we're going to have in from day zero is PvP is going to be multi-chain compatible from day dot. You'll be able to play against people from different chains. You won't be sharded on that. There will be certain game features that won't have multi-chain support from day one, but we will be pushing those with regular updates like we do and like you've seen before. One really big thing about Boss is it's going to double our capacity from day one. So this means essentially double the amount of users that can play the game. We're also going to be laying the foundation for the third chain, which, as you guys can kind of tell, we're going in an alphabetical order here. We're going to have a chain that starts with C. I would love, we're open to suggestions for names on that, so please put some names in the chat, and we'd love to see what you guys come up with. So in summary, kind of two things here. Why multi-chain? In the short term, it's going to give us some scalability, right? Like, we're going to be able to double the output. It's setting the foundation for the long term for us to get to that millions of players, kind of aspect we get to. And in order to get to different platforms like mobile, we really need this foundation. So it's really a stepping stone for us. And then, the big question is when multi-chain. We've been echoing this, and we definitely are on track for this, which is, it's weeks and not months for multi-chain. So that's what we're looking at here. So really excited for everyone to try this. Really excited to see how people like it and are interested in it. And yeah, that's a bit about multi-chain. So I think up next we've got Adam, who's going to be talking to us about something a little bit different.
Quick, I want to shout out the community. You guys are amazing with all these C names. I love it. I don't know if you're watching the chat, but I think I think the people have spoken about what they want. I think there's one popular one.
I like this suggestion for the D chain as dad chain. That's a great one.
We're going with Cardano. I think that's it. I think that's the one. Thank you for the suggestion, whoever put that in there.
Take it away, Adam. This is tell us what's coming next on the product side.
Hey everyone. So I'm Adam. I'm product lead on the platform side of the house. They gave me the worst section, so I will get through it so we can get you to the more exciting parts of this presentation. I also decided to turn my camera on since everyone else had their camera on briefly. So we have a new exciting thing coming up, which is a new auth system. We're working to get that out pretty soon. So we're going to be working with Privy. A lot of you who are in the Web3 space have probably used this product before. It's actually a really great product. It's much more advanced than we currently have today. We've seen a lot of people experience issues with our current provider, and we realized we needed to modernize it. It's really important. The most important part of this change is that this is going to be able to scale our user base significantly faster than the current set of offerings, and it will be mobile enabled from day one. So you can read between the lines there, or I can just spell it out for you. Mobile is important to our future growth. Privy is going to enable that. And so, this is another foundational milestone and stepping stone towards our ability to onboard your mom into Web3 using Privy. So these are the really important pieces of things that we have to do. So we call it eating our vegetables. And so changing our auth system is very much part of the changing eating our vegetables. I also want to talk a little bit about the booty leaderboard and what's going on there. First, start with like the unexciting things, which is that scores are not updating right now. We know that. You can stop asking in the chat. I've tried to put it in as many places as possible to remind you that the scores are not updating. We are working on fixing it. Just to give you a little bit of context as to why it's like that. There is a significantly larger amount of volume in season 2 from season 1. And so the queries that we wrote to scan the blockchain, to do all the calculations, just like simply don't work at this scale. And so we have to refactor them a little bit, rewrite them. We're capturing all the data. We know who's where. We just can't expose it yet because it's been basically like breaking our systems, and we just turned it off for the time being. But we're working on it. We know it's important. We know people want to compete and see where they stand. So it's something that we're working on. Again, aware. Sorry, we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. But you don't have to ask. Like, we're aware that it's broken, and like we are 100% on it. And similar to the waitlist, like it sucks. We know people want to see their scores going up. Number go up is one of the most fun parts of the space, and so we want to give that to you. Next thing I want to talk about is this marketplace quest, which has like been in like question mark mode for a while. I've put a couple of points in about this in the chat. I believe they're also all pinned. So we haven't released the scoring for that yet for a couple reasons. All the different ways that we were going to do it, we found like ways that people might game it and people might, try to like farm it. And it's very important to us that we don't release a quest that is like super farmable, pay to win, something that like doesn't feel like proof of play. We know Blur, like there's a Blur model, it's like very successful, but we're not trying to create wash volume. We're not trying to create volume for volume's sake. We can see what people are doing. Like there was one person who was like trading like 1 wood back and forth for 5 ETH. Like we know wood doesn't cost 5 ETH. Like we've seen this. Just don't do this, please. Just like use the marketplace like a normal human being. Like buy stuff, sell stuff. Don't try to create artificial volume. Just use this like a normal person, and like the quest will reflect that. But don't try to game it. Like it's not the intention of the quest. It's to every time we introduce a new quest, it's because we want to showcase and highlight other parts of the product. So for example, we added an exploration quest in season 2 because we noticed looking at the data that a number of people just weren't doing it, whether they didn't know that it was there or like didn't value it or didn't understand. And so we've been spending a lot of time and effort on the art side of things, making the world more like beautiful for you. We spent a lot of time like making sure that when you're sailing around the world, like the music is nice and the experience is good, and we're putting surprises in there. And so we wanted to make sure that you go to that thing. And so we created a quest to incentivize that behavior. And now hopefully it's part of your habit. Like you get on your boat, you sail around, you look for gold, you look for resources. Similarly, we want people to understand that the marketplace is very much part of the game, right? The economy part of the game is an element of the game. It is not the only part of the game. So use the marketplace normally, again, like a regular non-farming human. Don't try to lose money to like make booty points. Like we're going to not incentivize it in such a way, but a lot of people have been asking about that. So I just wanted to give a little more context. That's not coming not coming in the next like couple weeks because we just have our hands busy. But again, we've been tracking all of this since the beginning of season 2. We're fully aware, but yeah, just treat it normally and you'll be all set. So that is it for me. Now I'm going to hand it over to Dith, who's probably not going to turn his camera on because he's like super cool, shadowy.
Yeah.
I also want to vouch at him. The exploration quest works. I sail now.
Yeah, I was just about to add that too. Thanks, Adam. So, hey, for folks that don't know me, I'm Dith. I look after business development and some of the other stuff that we do under the go-to-market umbrella. And before Proof of Play, I was at a large infrastructure company called Stripe. Unfortunately, no camera for me today. But as Ronan points out, visualize Antonio Banderas, and you're mostly there. Let's say Antonio with like broader shoulders and a more prominent jawline. Let's say. But anyway, moving swiftly on, Jonathan, if you could tee up the next slide. So I'd like to kind of announce this first version of the Builders program that we have coming up imminently. It will be released within the next text. One of the things about Pirate Nation being a fully on chain game and all our game logic being on chain, it kind of represents this paradigm shift in how games can be built. Essentially means that the game is on chain in the form of smart contracts. You can think of it as an API. And in the Web2 gaming world, it typically only happens very late in a game's development. Sometimes a game is live for 5 or 10 years before the game developer releases a creator suite or an API or SDKs, allowing people to create on top of the game. Sometimes they never do, right? And then the community never gets to build alongside the game developers and build and extend and remix the game. Now, in our case, with all of our stuff being on chain, actually, this isn't hypothetical or theoretical at all. It's already started, and we have great builders in the community like Enjoy and Easy Snipe and Happy, the GG Quest guys, and many others who are already cooking, who are already creating stuff on top of Pirate Nation. Maybe you've interacted with some of their products. You've used taverns, or you've been to the pirate school, or you've used piratnation.info, or you've seen the gems bot in our Discord. And so that's super cool, right? It actually means that our community can build alongside us and can make Pirate Nation an even bigger, better, more fun experience than if we were just building it alone. So like many things that we do, we're publishing the V1 of the Builders program. It will be fairly it will be a V1 essentially, but we will like everything else that we do, we will iterate on it, and it will improve, and it will grow over time, and we'll add more resourcing around it. And so this is really going to be something that's of interest to folks who are already building mods, apps, clients, and other tools, or for others who haven't done so yet, but are curious to start. And now, what we hope this program does is just kind of adds a little bit of guidelines and support around that and encourages you to start. Now, something really important to help enable all of that. Actually, I'd like to hand over back to you, Amit. It's often better to show rather than to tell. So, over to you.
Hey, y'all. So I wanted to demo this one personally. It's something I really care about at the company. So, it's no secret we're shipping stuff kind of fast-ish. People kind of wonder how do we do it, right? And a big part of it is just from my prior experience. So for many years, I got my start building game engines and tools for game engines, and eventually went and worked at Epic Games. So I was working on Gears of War, Unreal Tournament, the Unreal Engine, the Unreal Editor, and I saw, I really noticed something when I was there, which was, the real power, in my opinion, of what Epic Games had built was around the fact that they created this tool that allowed non-technical people to very easily create worlds within the Unreal Engine. So when we would go and sell the Unreal Engine to game studios, it would be like an artist would go and talk to the other artists at the company and be like, "Hey, look what you can do without needing an engineer," right? So when we think about Web3, right, and the potential of what's possible Web3 it can't be just a bunch of programmers writing smart contracts is the only way to create the decentralized web. It just won't work. If you think about the inflection points of the internet, it came from first it was HTML, and then you had to know how to write HTML, and then someone created Dreamweaver, and then you could create websites visually, and then WordPress came out, and now you just can write a blog post, and now you have a website. And then when the social networks came out, like Facebook and MySpace, you didn't even need a blog or whatever. You just need or a server. You just could go and upload photos and some content. And now everyone became a creator. And each of those innovations onboarded more and more and more people onto the internet, right? And so a big part of what we're trying to do, just to speed ourselves up, is not only build the technology to enable on-chain games, but to also build the tools that allow non-technical members of our team to be able to create content as well. And so, hey, Jonathan, I can't share my screen. Do you mind?
You should be able to now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, undo it.
so I want to show a live demo of our internal editor, and so let's see. So there's a bunch of people who've been building stuff already, right? And we get a lot of questions in the development channel, like, how do I decode components? How do I work with this stuff? And the reality is like, it's way too hard to do. So we knew we needed tooling. So internally, we have this editor. This is actually how we make updates to Pirate Nation, right? So I'm on, we have a project for every chain, and I'm on the Apex chain. And I can go see what's a good quest. Crack that crate.
Please.
All right, let's see. So basically, I can go in here and I can see everything related to every quest in the game, right? So, this is Crack That Crate. It's a given entity. You can see all the components associated with it. These are the inputs needed. You need a resource crate. This is how we, this is the loot table associated with it. Here are the, this is how much XP it gives you, and so on, so on, so on. I can also see all the updates to this thing, right? So what we've done is we've essentially created a way for our game teams to be able to go and essentially create content without needing engineers, right? And so, let's see. And we can do this for a lot of other things too. So as we go and essentially put more and more things on chain, which we've done recently with a recent update we did, now our teams can actually go and like create new mobs, create new gauntlets. This is one of the mobs in the game. This is the Smoldering Wyvern, right? You can see it's got a little preview of its animation, how much health it has. We recently put all of the cards as well on chain. Let's see. What's a good name of a card?
Like a good card or a new name?
Long
I just did-
nines.
Long nines. All right, let's check out long nines.
Maybe the best card there is.
So you can see here, we have all the information associated with it, images, etc., etc. And then when we want to go and make changes to the game, for example, I'm going to go here and change the epic gold chest. So we're going to do a little mini event here where we're going to make the epic gold chest actually reward more gold. So I can go in here, I can edit it from being, these are in way, so I can edit from being 30,000, 30 gold to 40 gold. I can save that. And now I have a new change to the game that's ready to be deployed to chain. So I actually don't have permissions to do this, but the team does. So yeah, these are all the changes that are upcoming. Oh, there's some secrets in here.
Don't leak
God,
all
you guys
the
have-
upcoming.
You guys have so much pending changes. What's going on here?
We do.
Don't leak it all.
There's so much stuff coming. Jesus. All right. Well, anyways, long story short is I can go in here, I can update it. And once I have a deployment, okay, for example, here's a fix that was previously deployed. I can click upload to chain. I don't have permissions. But if I did, I click here, I sign a transaction, it gets uploaded to the chain. And so the idea behind this is that we eventually want to make it so that anyone can use this to fork the game, to like essentially edit stuff, to create mods, and so on. That's where this stuff is going, right? For today, this is an internal tool, but for our people that are building currently, there's a bunch of you, like the Madara, Easy Snipe, and a bunch of others. And I'm forgetting the names. I apologize. We are going to open this up as invite only and view only, so you can at least use it to browse all of the data in the game. So it's easier for you to build your products. Easier for you to figure out the schemas of different components. Show you this. So you can see here, we have all the components in the game, right? We have what their schemas are and so on. So like, it's just much easier for you to be able to actually develop your products. And so this is kind of what we're hoping to enable for folks. We really want to support our developers. We want to support people that are taking time out of their schedules to build in this ecosystem, and we want to make it easier for you. So we're going to have a form that's going to drop soon. You can use that to apply for access to the editor. Note that's going to be view only. It's meant to be like just a way for you to actually get more access to the data, to visualize in a more easy way, so you're able to build your products more easily. And then over time, we'll open up edit access, the ability for people to create their own applications and so on. This is how you actually enable third-party development. But I wanted to show that first so everyone had context. Yeah,
the form is shared live in the developers channel, by the way, and everyone who's listening. So if you're interested, you can already find the link in the developers channel.
Great, thanks. And then I guess Jonathan, I think we're handing it off. We've managed to free William.
Oh, am I up?
You are. Sorry, maybe I was on mute.
Right,
Who let this guy out?
Real quick, we were encountering a problem with the Speed Pirate drawing cards. That was just deployed, so that should be live now. Sorry for the issue. When we transferred everything over, we ran into an issue, and just found it last night. Luckily, our guy was able to fix it this morning. We got it through QA. It's now live, so it should be good. And that's cool because I just got Speed Powered up to 30, so I'm gonna play that today in the gauntlet. All right, let's talk about stuff. First off, I'm gonna do a caveat. The stuff that we're gonna show in the slides that are upcoming are all work in progress. The images we have, some of them are mock-ups, some of them have nonsense information on them, and stuff like that. Don't take everything you see as oh my god, that's in the game. This is like I'm showing you how the sausage is made a little bit, so it's going to be a little messy, but I think you'll appreciate the message, and it completely shows our intent, which is the important part. So let's go ahead and move forward, Jonathan. Yeah, I'm free. Let's talk. Let's talk about stuff that's exciting. All right. So battle score. We just introduced battle score to the game. Very, very minor. We just put the timer in, right? So we're tracking how much time you're doing per encounter in the gauntlet, and then for the entire gauntlet as a whole. And right now that's being saved locally. We'll get that saved to chain pretty soon, so you can actually do it between browsers and stuff. So that's what's in the game now, but that's not the entirety of the feature. The feature is going to balloon quite a bit. We're going to give you a score that is calculated off of several things. This will include things like how much overkill damage you did, right? So there's a minimum amount of damage you need to do to defeat all the enemies, but how much more damage did you do beyond that, right? So that's going to add heavily to the score. How much damage did you take during the battle? What was your final health at the end of the battle? We'll give bonuses for things like I took down 2 enemies or even 3 enemies in a single round, right? So big bonuses for that type of stuff. Or I defeated enemies in the first round, or I beat the whole thing in the first round. Big bonuses for that as well. So the idea is to make a old cabinet arcade game style high score ranking board for that. Where you see your personal best records for each encounter, each battle, and you can compare it with other players, right? And eventually we'll even have a viewer online where you can see the other players' scores and see, the high scores for each one of the encounters in battle. So this will give you more targets to shoot for and more trophies to hold. Like I have the best score on, piracy is a crime, right? So that is battle score. That's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Let's move on to the next thing. This is a big thing, and it's actually a couple things. 3 of them, actually. And I'll talk about these in terms of what we're doing now and what is coming up next. So right now, we're working on a shared map. And a shared map means that I have the same map that you have. Everyone has the same map. The map will change often, like every 12 hours, it'll shift. But it'll shift for everybody, and it'll shift in the same way. And so as the Infinite Isles change, we can all say, hey, the mausoleum is 3 screens over to the left. And then 12 hours later, it's 2 screens to the north, right? So you can like share that information amongst other players. And we're putting a lot more stuff in to be discovered. I'll talk about that next. But shared world. This means you see other players on the map. So now, as I'm sailing around, I will see Ronan sailing by. What the heck? That's Ronan. And eventually we'll add interactions like, hey, we should duel, and I'll put you into a PvP match or something. So, so the world's going to look a lot more alive because you're going to see a lot of players sailing around. And we're going to be sharing the same map, so we can all be going to the same destinations. Hey, meet me at the mausoleum. So I think that'll be very, very cool. Next, we're going to put in combat encounters. You kind of see in the picture here, oh, there's a Charybdis on the map. And the pronunciation is Charybdis, or big toothy worm. So the idea is that you'll see this on the map. They won't move initially, but they'll be there. And you can go over and, much like a wood node or a iron ore node, you can interact with them. And there'll be quests. So you'll say, I want to go into that combat quest against the Charybdis and battle them. And they'll have reward drops and things like that. So it's another area where you can spend energy and sail around the world, find the monsters you want to fight, and do that. And we'll have the rare monsters out there as well. That people like, hey, do you see this really weird looking Charybdis that looks like it's half dead? It's over there. Go check that out, right? And then everyone can go check it out. And, you don't want to fight that thing. It's really dangerous. So that is shared map, shared world, and combat encounters. And that is shared map is actively being worked on right now. Shared world is upcoming. It's the next. And combat encounters is kind of being worked on right now. We're starting to get working on it. So all these things are. I'm thinking of our roadmap. I guess that would be in the next category, maybe now to next category for all of these. Okay, that's exploration V2, I'll call it. Let's move on to the next thing. All right, here is this is kind of exciting. As you get more Gen 1 pirates through things like Wishing Well and things like that, you're going to be like, oh, I already had a combat expertise pirate or damage, evasion pirate or whatever. I really wanted something else. We're going to allow you to spend gems to re-roll. So you say, let's say I had an expertise, and I didn't want expertise of evasion. I will re-roll, and it'll be one of the other 4 that I'll get. So the same thing with affinity. I already have a fire affinity version of this. I want to re-roll that. And the re-rolls probably have an escalating cost. We haven't decided that yet. That's why we have the TBT in there. So if you keep re-rolling and keep re-rolling, it'll get more expensive as you re-roll. That's the initial thought anyway. But the cool thing is, as you get pirates, even pirates you currently have, you'll be able to ship. And we haven't decided on what the exact limitations are. Like, is there a point at which the pirate can no longer be shifted, right? Like once he's past level 10, he can no longer be shifted from one to the other, or do we just let it go? Still to be decided. But we are looking at that. This is in the next category. Next, let's talk about a couple of new friends you're going to make. So this is the giant pufferfish. And the giant pufferfish is going to be the first one to kind of use Thunderstruck against you. So get ready to lose some AP if you don't avoid his strike. He could be a pretty painful little wingman for people. Like, you can imagine fighting the Charybdis and suddenly he takes away all your AP and you can't avoid the strike, right? That would be horrifically bad for a lot of people. So he's kind of a nice wingman type that's going to be introducing the and then we're going to talk about the Jelly Swarm. The Jelly Swarm is another wingman that is very painful. And he has something called Paralyze. And I want to emphasize Paralyze here. It's one of the new combat mechanics that we'll be introducing. If you get a paralyzed debuff on you, you will draw less cards. So normally you draw 5 cards in a round. If you're paralyzed, you might only draw 3. So paralyzed sucks. You don't want to be hit with it. So take out the jellies or avoid their strikes is my suggestion. We have other creatures coming as well. We have quite a few other creatures coming as well. When Amit was going through the list, I saw somebody call out, "Did you see the squid?" Yes, we have a squid coming as well. But we have some really cool stuff. All right, next one's a big one too. The Foundry. So here you see the 5 levels of the Foundry. 4 levels down below, and then the kind of animated one is the final product, the big machine. This is part of a larger system that we're creating called crafting, in which you will put a building on your island, and you'll invest time in doing things to basically build that building up. You'll get parts to advance the building, and you'll be able to make recipes within that building. And actually, our entire crafting system will shift over to this. Right. So our current crafting system is I can make anything. It's going to get narrowed down into I can make these things in the forge and these things in this other building, these things in this other building. And then the more you make stuff, the better you're going to get. And it's going to wind up in specialization. Whether people are going to specialize in the forge or one of the other buildings and all the cool stuff that gets introduced through those paths. The idea is you sail around, you collect stuff, you bring it back, you craft stuff, you build things like ship items, you equip those ship items, and they become cards in your deck. So that's kind of the circle that we're going for, right? And then you use those cards to go around and battle stuff, to get better stuff, which lets you make better stuff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And as you become specialists, you kind of go to like, hey, go to that guy. He's selling the stuff because he's specialized in making this. So that gets more of a cross market amongst the players. So it's a super, super exciting feature. This is more in the next to later period. As you can see, we put a lot of work into it, but it's a big, big system. So lots of testing, lots of tweaks to formulas, recipes, things like that. So it's going to take a little bit longer, but it's the one I'm super excited about because it completes that loop of why am I sailing around and collecting all this stuff? Oh, so I can build this stuff, so I can get better. So yeah, it's I think it's going to be great. I'm sure we'll be talking about this more as we go forward as well, introducing the buildings, introducing some of the crafting recipes and stuff like that. So, but that's for future town halls. And let's just end here with a little video. Here we're adding weather effects. You've already seen the day-night effects we've introduced to the game. We're going to have more arenas that you battle with and things like that. So we're just making the game prettier. And eventually, this is in the later category as well, those effects could actually have an impact on combat. I'm a big fan of Marvel Snap, so you can understand if you play Marvel Snap what I'm talking about. So we are looking at that as well as kind of a future feature. So, and finally, let's just leave it off with blah, blah. Figure out what that means. So, and with that, I will relinquish myself back to the brig. Thank you for freeing William.
Thank you, William. Your freedom is appreciated by all. We definitely appreciate it. So a lot of good questions in the chat. So I'm gonna say shout out to Santi. There we go. Where's the list? Here we go. He's been keeping a list together for us. So got a question right here. Let's see. So with the new mobs, this is one for William. With the new mobs, the new monsters, would they be in hard mode only, or would there be a weaker version in the normal gauntlet?
There will be versions that appear in both, and some that appear in one or the other.
Okay, definitely. All right. Okay, we got someone asking about the leaderboard when it will be live. I assume they refer to the revised leaderboard. I'm interested to see what points look like with the new categories added, or points in general. So assuming that's referring to booty, and Adam said we don't have a precise ETA on that. We are ingesting more on-chain data than we ever have in our lives for booty points. So we have to kind of keep revamping that system. and make sure that it works and it scales and that it's reliable. We don't want to turn it on and then it not work and we have to keep fixing it. We'd rather just like fix it right the first time and get that up. Another one from William. Can you tell us more about the mystery of the spiteful spirit in the jar that people are pulling out of the mausoleums?
No. The spiteful spirit is one of the rare items that you will need as part of an upcoming system.
All right. Okay. All right. Let's see. Is the Foundry an expensive settlement type building, or will everyone be able to afford it?
Everyone will be able to afford it.
Okay. And I'm assuming it's like the first level version, right? Like that's what you're referring
That's
to?
correct.
Step one. Okay. Cool. Because everyone can afford level 5. That would be a little crazy. People want more elaboration on blood. Do you have 2 more words for us on that, Julia?
Oh, I'm gonna leave it blah blah. There's hints out there about what that
Okay.
means. Let's see if anybody can figure it out.
All right. So those 2 extra words are blood. When level 4 ships?
That's definitely in the next to later category. We've been talking about going to level 4, level 5. The issue with going up in those levels is we want them to be meaningful. We want to introduce gameplay impactful actions along with those levels. So we don't just want to say, okay, now we're going to go to level 4. We want to say you go to level 4 and something changes with your ship. So it's a little more work than just adding levels and adding hit points.
Nice. All right. It's all got to be balanced, pirates. So we had a question from Matt. Considering the multi-chain, are we going to have multiple block explorers? If someone has to transfer, do they choose the RPC of the specific chain? Or is it going to be a standard RPC URL which sends requests to the specific chain based on the wallet address? Well, I'm pretty sure I understand what that means. But first, let's start with block explorers. Will it be the Apex Explorer and then the Boss Explorer? Will we potentially do one unified explorer?
Yeah, so initially we're going to come out with multiple explorers. So you'll explore the chain that you're on. We will link to the correct explorer pertaining to the transaction, so the users will be able to see it from there. For the second part of the for the question, which was related to transactions, the idea that we have is that you should be, like, let's say you want to start a transfer. You should be sending it from the chain that you have items on, and we will take care of the delivery to the correct chain. So if I'm going to send like a game item to someone, I would just send it like I do a normal transaction. I make a new transfer request, I put their to address in, and then all of the primitives of multichain and our services will take care of making sure it gets to them on the correct chain that they're on.
Excellent. Cool. So it sounds like people don't have to pick their RPCs, which seems like a very nice state of being. All right. Okay, William, you're a popular man. Any info on fish food and banana crates?
I would put them in the next category. We are getting closer to revealing exactly what they're for.
Ooh, we're getting closer, pirates. All right. Wishing well, when does it come back?
We don't want to do a wishing well right now because I think the problem with that would be with the until we get the wait times down a bit. I don't think we want to consider running it. It'd be very frustrating knowing that it's a system where once something's gone from the wishing well, it's gone. So if somebody if we put something really valuable in there and you're waiting in line and somebody grabbed it, it would feel really bad. So we would want to fix the problem with getting into the game quickly before we ran.
Gotcha. Let's see. Level cap on pirates raising. I would assume the answer is probably similar to the ship's
Same as
level
the
cap
ships.
increase.
Yeah.
Yep.
A plan
All
has been
gotta
put
be
together.
balanced.
A plan has been put together for it, but it still needs like a bunch of stuff. So again, next to later category for that.
Gotcha. What kind of rewards could we look forward to when defeating enemies in exploration? I would assume probably commensurate with like enemy difficulty and the gauntlet, right?
Yeah, it's gonna easy stuff will drop tier 1, tier 2 stuff, and harder stuff will drop stuff closer to the gauntlet. I think the gauntlet will remain like one of the better sources of drops. Certainly great because you don't spend any energy to go into the gauntlet. But energy will be used for the encounters that you encounter in the world. And it will be better than the quests because you actually have to do stuff, activities and stuff to actually get it done. So you spend like 5 energy on a quest, and you can see what that would yield. It'll be better for combat.
Nice. I'm excited for that. Let's see. Another one for Matt. Could we expect a time delay when transferring between chains in the multi-chain?
Yeah, so multi-chain actions will have kind of eventual consistency, if that makes sense. So we have really two types of actions. One, which is like you make a change on one chain and it is propagated to all chains. You're going to see them kind of have that eventual consistency there. And then the second type of update we have is like a one-to-one transaction, like one-to-one message passing. These are things like transfers. For those, we've got two types of those. One is a mirroring transaction. So like you transfer a pirate on L1. We are bound by the same restrictions we were with mirroring, which is Ethereum finality. So we'll see them be the same type of delay there. Like when you move a pirate, regardless of which chain you play on, you'll still have the kind of like 8 to 12 minute finality window that you see on Ethereum. For things like ships and game items, we will see a slight delay. But as you know, like we on these chains prioritize speed. The block time is 250 milliseconds, sometimes 200. We tweak it, and finality is really fast. And so for those, you'll see similar times as potentially like VRF, a few seconds to deliver between chains.
That's pretty quick there. Um, World Bosses coming soon. I know we've been teasing it. This one's for
We'll keep
William.
teasing.
We'll keep teasing. All right. I think this is a good question for Adam, because Adam is our man on the roadmap. What's the time frame for the next category on the roadmap?
It's kind of fuzzy.
Rough
Uh,
ranges.
it's kind of fuzzy. Next is like the team is on it. Like there's like people who are putting their hands on keyboards, typing in, code to solve that problem. So that some things are larger than others in terms of how long they take. And as you all know, our roadmap is a living roadmap, and we're constantly tweaking and making changes to adjust to, what's happening. And so it could be next right now, and then in 20 minutes from now, something may change our priority list. Like we were planning to build our own Q product website, but then we found out that people were like getting around it and just like kind of doing things that we didn't appreciate. So it was like, okay, well, now we're building a Q product, which wasn't on our radar. It wasn't something we had planned to do. And so, next is like intention to launch it as soon as possible, but we're in an ever-changing environment. And so we're constantly shifting priorities to suit the needs of the business.
Perfect. I did see a question. Where'd it go? I got tagged. Ship repairs. How are we thinking about ship repairs? I know it's something that Diff has been teasing ship repairs for a while, but William, any words for ship repairs?
We've been going back and forth on ship repairs and adding that capability. There's I would say that it's still in the plan, and we're internally we're discussing the best way to do it. Like if it's I won't get into the detail of it. I'll say that it's still in the plan. We still plan on doing it. I can't say exactly when.
Gotcha. Well, we are right on top of the hour, so I will close out these last two questions. Will Founders Pirates be able to change their expertise in Infinity? I believe not, as the feature is being scoped for Gen 1. So we have that correct?
That's correct. The collection of Gen 1s is a collection, and it's all balanced between the types of pirates and the affinities and the expertise and things like that. So we don't want to allow that balance to be shifted around necessarily. So we'll do it to Gen 1s, but
Just to clarify, you said that you meant that for Gen Zeros for the Founders Pirates. That's the one that's balanced. Cool.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. And the final question of the town hall. Thank you all pirates for coming out. We'll close on this one, which I think is a very interesting one. Will shared map or shared world, will that mean that everyone has the same resource node location, such as iron, wood, iron ore, wood, cotton, pirate gold? And will the node usage begin a persistent game refresh? So I'm assuming what they're asking for is, are you and I competing for the same piece of cotton on the map or do we each kind of have our own cotton? Or could there be a version where maybe there's two different versions of that?
So the initial plan is that everyone will have their own version of the node. It'll be the same location for everybody. So if someone says, "Hey, can you tell me where a gold node is?" People can say, "Yeah, it's 3 screens over to the left," and I already collected it, but you can go collect it on your map now because it's duplicative for each player. Longer term, that may change where we say there are special nodes or something out there that only the first 100 people get it or something like that. But that's like dreamland off in the distance. For now, let's stick with everybody will be able to collect the nodes on the map. So it's not a race like you and I are racing to see who can collect that one.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, Pirates. Appreciate you all attending on this this very fine Wednesday. And I want to thank the rest of the team for coming out here and sharing everything that they're working on with the community. Amit, Matt, Adam, William, Dis, thank you all. Santi and I, we definitely, as a the community team, we definitely appreciate it. It's helpful to get everyone excited, and yeah, hopefully everyone has quick queue times, and soon one day, no more queue times. One day eventually,
Yep.
we'll get that.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Thank you, Jonathan, for hosting.
Are we
You
ending
want to
with
close out with the ARG? Like it's mandatory.
Oh, you're right. All right, everyone. Mic's on and camera's on except for Dith and Santi's internet's a little unstable. But we'll count down to 3 and we'll give it a hearty yard, right? 1, 2, 3. Yarg!
ARG.
All right. Take care, everyone. Smooth.